Constitution podcast. Today I'm joined by Dominic Thwaite, who is an amazing dancer, musician, literally everything in between, right? Jesus, is there anything you don't do?
We've jumped around a little bit, but in the creative fields, performing arts, dancer first, now turned actor,
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. Well, this episode is all about finding confidence in creating your own projects.
Yeah.
And finding motivation for it too, because that's a bit hard to find sometimes. So Dominic, tell me a little bit about yourself.
I have spent majority of my time professionally working in the dance industry. It's been nearly 10 years. And during that time, I found that the industry can be really busy at times and it can be really dry at times. And a lot of dancers have to find themselves either being away a lot on contract back to back, usually doing ships and stuff like that, or musicals.
Yeah.
Or they work locally right out the busy season and then during the dry seasons have to get a second job. So I found myself in that kind of flow year to year. So it'd be like away for a bit, then here for a bit, then nothing for a while.
Yeah.
And after a while, I found myself wanting to essentially do more, do other things. And I've eventually found myself traveling a lot, getting into travel films and travel photography when that was a big hit, 2016, 2017, I think. And that was a big passion for a lot of filmmakers.
Yeah.
And then from there, you start to make the projects get bigger and bigger, and it gets to the point where you're creating short films, and the film industry just pulled me in, essentially. So now I'm fully into this world and haven't looked back since. That's kind of a quick little,
Yeah, and you've started a YouTube channel. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so a friend of mine and I, Will McPherson, and I have opened up a company called Dom and Will. Really original. And essentially what it is, it's a platform that we've gone across mainly Instagram and YouTube, where we want to get creators in to collaborate with them and make the projects that we wanted to do years ago because we hadn't had the budget, gear, or knowledge, and share that with the community before they get their big break, if we can bring people in. Because a lot of actors, we find you're training really hard and you're trying to network really hard, and until you get that one break, you really just don't.
You're constantly kind of pushing the cart up a hill.
Yeah. And by doing this, we can make it local, we can make it passion projects, we can make them unique, and we just think we can make a difference in the lives of people around us and create people around us by having this platform.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's such an exciting journey.
Yeah.
And obviously at the start, I think what stops a lot of people is kind of that I don't have a following or that 0 subscribers when you first start an Instagram page.
How terrible does that feel?
I mean, we've been there too. I was thinking for a while, it's like, should we start an Instagram page for the podcast, or should I just use my personal brand, which has, a somewhat decent following? But you know what, you just have to take a leap and start that project, because even like Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson. I don't know why I've gone Jackson, but they've all started with nothing.
Yeah. Have you found that having this new platform on Instagram beneficial for this podcast?
Definitely. I mean, you never know where you're going to find your audience.
Yeah.
And we recently spoke to a guest that really stressed on that too. It's like, you don't really want to be like, I'm only going to do X, and then you find that your most passionate audience might be somewhere else. And Instagram for us is one of the ways that we get to network with people and ask people to come on the podcast. So if we didn't have Instagram, I think it'd be really hard to move forward.
Yeah, YouTube's not really a platform that you talk to people.
Yeah,
it's more
it's
a
not
platform
like you
you
can
just
DM
give.
someone,
Yeah.
You want to be able to slide in them DMs.
Yeah, 100%. That's how I'm here.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I love,
And so with your YouTube channel, and really, I mean, all the projects that you've done in the past, what's been something that helped you kind of get that motivation to start it and then continue it?
Having a second brain. So being in a partner, sometimes when you create, and we do this alone, I'm sure you've created and done short films alone in your house, you have this great idea, and then you want to be in it, you want to shoot it, you want to edit it, and you just get to the point where you're setting up the camera and you sit down, you look at the shot and it's not right, and you have to get up and you have to move the camera, and you sit down, you look at the audio and the microphone's facing and it becomes a thing where something that should take 20 minutes takes a day.
Yeah.
And it's so demoralizing when you have that to work with. So having a second person where it's a case of like, all right, well, I'm in this one, can you just shoot? Or I'm going to edit this one, can you write? Or having that second brain to work with and collab with has been like the best. And it goes to show that in this industry and in filmmaking or any arts, it's a collaborative thing. You're not meant to be doing this alone, I don't believe.
It's so hard doing things alone.
Yeah.
And I personally suffer from like overthinking a lot.
Most artists do.
And I actually do think that sometimes when you get someone else on board, you can actually reduce that overthinking and just execute more.
Yeah, it forces you to lock in a day. And then you're like, well, whatever it is now, I have to shoot because I'm on set. We're doing it, and we're here. Yeah.
And there's so many people that can offer help as well. I mean, you can just put one post online and be like, guys, I want to make this short film. It's an action film. I'm gonna punch some stuff. I'm sure there'll be at least 10 people that want to help.
Totally,
like and a lot of the time, collaboration, it's very good, very true, very cool. But also, what is your opinion on like having too many cooks in the kitchen as well? Has that been something that you've struggled with?
On this journey I'm on, I want to say no.
That's
because
great.
although we have this this combined thing together, we still have our own projects we want to create. And when someone takes leadership of a project, the other one of us will sit back and just support.
Yeah.
And we really try to make that the way we work, unless it's something we are working on together, and then it's just the two of us. But making sure that there's always a leader, someone who is this is their passion project, and I'm going to support you right to the end.
Yeah.
And then just keeping that bouncing back and forth. And as long as you have the respect between each other, and the person who's supporting only throws in an idea here and there, rather than trying to take the reins, you never really run into any issues.
That's so true. I think it comes down to like having respect for the people that you're working with, and I guess it's also knowing your boundaries.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But with the motivation side of things, have you ever kind of felt a lack of motivation with your creative endeavors?
Oh yeah, many times. I cannot tell you the number of short films that are written and just sitting on a hard drive dead, or the photo projects that are just sitting on a hard drive not doing anything because it was too overwhelming. I mean, I worked on a ship for 8 months. I lived in Europe, moving through Europe for 8 months on a ship performing.
That sounds pretty damn cool.
Awesome, right? I had this whole cool idea where I wanted to do a series called Cabin Life.
Oh,
this is a whole thing that we're going to take.
Wait, like Zach and Cody?
Who?
Oh my God. That's like something I grew up with.
No, I don't know
Maybe
that
I'm
one.
too old. I'm showing my age. But it's like
I'm sure it flew past me, yeah.
It's the whole thing. It's a Disney Channel show.
We never grew up with Disney Channel. That's what it was. God. Yeah, we were not.
You were just stuck on a ship. You never know. You never knew about it. Crazy. But anyways, go back to it.
Yeah. So I had this idea. I was going to do this cabin life thing. I'm going to try and make a YouTube channel and just bring people to see what it is like to live on a ship as a performer, and make it as beautiful and as welcoming as I could.
Yeah.
The project is about 300 gigabytes big, and I've done nothing with it.
Oh my gosh. Well, at least you filmed it.
It's shot.
Maybe one day when you're walking the red carpet, you can be like, here you go, Stan, I've got a show. It's ready to go. You just need to find an editor.
Here's this 2 hours of just me speaking straight, and you just work out how to tell the stories.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What was the main premise of it? Was it just kind of documentary style, or did you do it more of a fiction type thing?
No, definitely documentary, because we were running around we didn't have time to plan. You live on a boat, and it's a case of you'll leave the ship at 9 a.m. and you'll have until 3 or 4 to have to be back. So it's just go out, experience the country you're in, because you're in Italy, and just get as much as you could, see as much of the world as you could, capture as much as you could, and then come back and try and tell something cohesive in the editing room. If I followed through.
Yeah. Well, so many travel influencers were doing stuff like that.
And that was that era, 2017, 18, 19, that pocket. That's when that blew up.
Yeah. So you would have been perfectly placed to just start putting stuff up. Reels didn't exist back then, but that probably would have been very useful for you. It's
amazing what people are doing
now.
with that now.
You can do it.
Yeah, right?
But you probably don't have the time for it. I mean, geez.
No. We've moved, I think, as an industry, especially if we look at the social media market of this, we've moved away from travel influencers a lot at the moment, and I feel like a lot of people are going into film production. A lot of those people have moved into film, or even digital photographers are now going to shoot film again. So they're all going analog. We're going for the bigger, longer form project after we've done so much time, scrolling so quickly through feeds.
I think that's a good thing.
I think it's a good thing too.
Because short content is... Yeah, it's kind of mind-numbing.
Yeah.
As much as it is entertaining and you get that dopamine fix, I definitely feel my brain melting if I do it for too long.
Yeah, and there's a few people, I have to give them credit, that really take advantage of that short form content and actually do something really unique with it. So there are people who I think use it in a very interesting way. It's just a lot of it can be mind-numbing and just like...
I know.
Yeah.
I have to train myself to not do it too much.
Yeah.
But I mean, even with the podcast, we create our reels and we start putting it everywhere. And I think in a way you kind of have to do it. It's like,
absolutely, yeah.
It's like you're playing the devil's game, but you just have to take part in it.
Yeah. Well, it's a case, you feel this is advertising now.
Yeah.
So.
And it's free.
Yeah.
You got to kind of take advantage of whatever you can that is free. And I think this applies very much to filmmakers too. I've seen a couple filmmakers make amazing reels, or even just chop up their films into smaller little bits,
do
just
as
like
stacks.
little teasers.
Yeah.
I've seen you do those.
Yeah.
They're great.
They're fun, right? Yeah. So.
But how are you kind of using that sort of platform for your endeavors? Do you use them a lot? What's the objective for you as well with those kind of short form things?
So we as a duo really are focusing on creating longer stories. We want to go into creating short films between 4 minutes and an hour. Like we're not looking to do the super short stuff. If we do use that, it will to bring people behind the camera and BTS a lot of our shoots. Because we did a little test. We gave ourselves 2 weeks and we uploaded 3 times a week and we shot a fresh, completely cinematic short film 3 times a week, and we did it as much as we could, and it was a lot. Like it was a case of Monday I would go into a cafe and I would script all day. So we tried to do the cinematic short form thing, but it's a lot of work, and 2, you run out of ideas so quickly.
Yeah.
So I personally think that to make the most of the platform, using BTS footage as our short form content would be the best. And then when we are ready to release something bigger, people can see what went into it and then the final product.
What did you think of kind of mass producing these films? Did it kind of take the juice, the passion away? Like, what did you feel?
I don't think we gave it long enough to make it, let us run dry, but I completely ran out of ideas. I was like, I'm really good for the first couple of days because you got that backlog that you've kept for a while, and then you make it in a week, and then you've got nothing left.
That's insane, though.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And then you got nothing left, and you're like, I want to make. I'm ready and I'm willing to do it, but I just don't know what to tell anymore. And then because you've set up this, because you know how it's all about niches and everything, you've set up this niche for yourself where it's like, we do cinematic storytelling. That takes time.
Yeah.
And you just don't,
Especially if you want that picture quality to be really amazing. And then you have to obviously find the actors as well, unless you were doing most of the acting.
We were doing both. In front and behind the camera,
I mean, that's great though.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like, part of this topic is that finding the confidence for it. Yeah. How did you find the confidence to be like, okay, well, we're going to do this and we're going to start on Monday? You know, like so many people have these grand ideas, but then they're just like excited for like 3 days, 3 months, 3 years, but then like, nothing happens.
Yep. It's like, oh, we'll start on Monday, that whole mentality. And it's just like Monday never comes.
Yeah, I'm tired. I'm going to do this Sunday.
Yeah, it's a hard one because I feel like Will and I are both performers as a background before we've gotten into talking on camera, which was the weirdest experience ever to be like, that's my voice. And we just kind of sit there and hope that people don't judge it. So it's getting over, I think, caring so much about the judgment and just being like, you know what, screw it. Our announcement video, we scripted it, planned it, and we're like, this thing is stupid. Like, it's just dumb, but it's fun.
Yeah.
And it's eye-catching and it's interesting, and people will finish it and be like, I don't know what I just watched, but we'll see what happens.
You just have to post. Like, that's the thing. Like, our first episode was not that good, and then it never really is. Like, your first short film is not going to be that good. My first short film, like, it's okay. But, like, there are many errors.
Yeah.
And I'm a perfectionist, so it's actually a miracle that it ever got posted online. But, like, there are so many things that hold you back, and I don't know if it is me getting older, but the older I get, the less fudges I give.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I found the same thing. I feel like when we're in, I want to say like late teens, early 20s, you have a friend circle. A lot of the time we have friend circles that are friends through colleagues or friends through students and like universities and stuff. So you haven't really found your group yet. Yeah. So you tiptoe and can tiptoe a lot of the time to not be like, oh, that person, I know if I do X, Y, or Z, A judgment can come from that, and that comes across in, you know, posting, creating, and sharing something that is really vulnerable and really authentically you. So as you get older, the friendship groups a lot of the time get thinner, slimmer. You got less time for everyone.
Yeah.
So then the people who you do surround yourself with really do just support you, and that's enough to just make you care less in a good way.
Yeah. I actually find, I don't know if you've had a similar experience, but I totally agree. My friendship circles really like become super small, but in a way, like it's a good thing.
It's so nice.
But to be honest, I actually find that I get more support from strangers than I do from friends.
That's interesting.
It's so weird.
Really?
But like, you know, we'll start posting or something and then someone will reach out and be like, oh, I really like that episode. Or someone will reach out to me and be like, I really liked you in that short film, you know? And it's stuff like that where I'm like, sometimes,
isn't that special?
Sometimes it makes me want to post more because the world is more welcoming to my whatever the hell I'm doing. Then sometimes the people closest to you can sometimes feel maybe a little bit like sad if their life is not where they want it to be and stuff too. There's so many reasons, so you can't hate them for it. But yeah, I don't know.
That's interesting.
Have you found that like a little bit, you know, with maybe Dom and Will, your YouTube channel, or any other project you've been doing?
I think at the point in my life that I'm in, the people who I'm lucky enough that the people who I've surrounded myself by are all very similar and on the same page. So I can talk to pretty much any of my friends about any of the stuff that I do, and they go, I get you.
Oh, that's
and
great.
That's I'm very grateful and very lucky to have that. Yeah. I couldn't say that 5 years ago. I couldn't say that 10 years ago. And I couldn't actually say that while I was pushing the dance industry as hard as I could, because there's just a mismatch in how we think.
Let's dive into that, because I think there's some juicy information there. But for like things like film versus music versus even just creative arts, I think the mentalities and sort of the personalities are quite different. And you've dipped your toes in so many different ones. So I'd love to know your perspective on kind of what you felt in each.
I think there's pockets of all creative industries that overlap. Yeah. So if we look at filmmakers, there are a group of, because I know filmmakers and dancers, there's a group of dancers that fit that mold. Yeah. But there's a lot of that don't. Yeah. And you can talk to them, but they don't understand just the wavelength on when you're on. And that's just, there's no right or wrong here. It's just different. Yeah. So moving through each of these, I see musicians that you talk to about visuals and it doesn't make sense, or dancers that you talk about emotion. That's a big one, actually. Like teaching dancers to emote and to feel and not emote is a big thing for performers. And the ones that just get it are the ones that book a lot of the time. Yeah. So that's one of the biggest mismatches we find between dancers and actors in this situation, because it's we get taught, it's so much technique. You can think of dancers as athletes, and then like actors as feelers. It's like very much like that kind of thing. And so they should be crossing over, but a lot of time in the training they don't.
It's crazy that like the different industries they have their like mishmashes, but they also have their differences.
Absolutely, yeah.
I love it, to be honest. My background hasn't always been very creative. So when I came into the creative fields, I actually noticed a lot of these sort of differences.
Yeah, and what did you notice?
I love the vibe that film students gave. Yeah. I think film students, they were kind of like two groups. There were the ones that were obsessed with film history and like they'd know every single fact of like Quentin Tarantino's life or something.
Every foot on every table.
I love them. They were great, but like they're your more nerdy ones.
Yeah, totally.
And then there are the ones that are like, very much I want to be authentic and I want to tell stories, and they're usually kind of like a bit crazy, and I like that.
It's fun, right? Yeah,
it's so fun. I loved it. And then I really vibe with that. So the more I pushed myself to kind of do more acting and the more roles I got, which I was super happy about. I loved being on set because that energy was so different from like me chilling at a law office, because that was my previous job.
Oh, wait, your job was that?
Yeah, I got admitted as a lawyer. Wow. And then I did it and I was like, this crap is so boring.
Apparently, I've heard this random statistic that there's a lot of lawyers that go into acting.
Gerard Butler.
Yeah.
One of them.
Yeah.
Yes. There's a few.
It's something to do with being able to contain a lot of text.
I think it's because you're acting your whole life pretending like your job.
No, that's a fair point. Wow. Yeah, I've heard that statistic's actually pretty high, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. I'm honest, like To be honest, it doesn't surprise me too much, especially if they've done criminal law, because then you have to be in court and you kind of just have to tell stories. Like a lot of like criminal law is telling stories, you know, making sure your client doesn't end up in jail or something. But I did corporate tax, which was not
not the same.
It's not the same. Although I did a few internships with like legal offices in like the criminal sector, and I actually loved being in court. Like it was. I had my suit on, and
it's a whole energy.
And then I'd
like
walk into the court, and I'd be like, "What up?" And then the security guards knew me by name.
Nice,
so they'd be like, "Hey, Deb,
they just let
up?"
you through.
And then exactly. They're like, "You don't need to give me your belongings. Everyone else does." And then you go through the like metal detectors, and it just goes beep beep beep. But it was like the soundtrack, like Metallica or something. So
what you're saying is it's just your red carpet. That's all it is. That's literally all it is.
Paparazzi. And then you'd walk into the law the courtroom. And then you would like stand up and be like, "Hey, judge," obviously more formal, but you'd like argue your case.
Yeah.
And to be honest, that was fun.
Yeah, no, I totally believe you. Yeah.
Yeah. And you hear some crazy stories. To be honest, I could probably write a couple of really interesting short films just based on some of the like things that I've heard and people I've seen. One of the funniest things.
You should.
Yeah. One of the funniest things is that happens a lot. It's like you tell your client, you're like, you need to dress nice because they'll judge you based on your looks. And how many times have you seen a movie where like the dude comes in, he looks like a criminal, and then he gets a worse outcome? It's the same in life.
Yeah.
And to be honest, that teaches you a lot about how to act in real life too. You gotta behave the way you want to be seen and kind of you like project what you want into the universe.
Yeah. Do you find it fun to break that convention? This is totally off topic now.
I know, but what do you mean? What do you mean?
So to dress and be how you want to be seen and having that be your persona, let's say, and then sometimes just some days just breaking it completely and just being like, I'm going to dress a different way and talk and be a different way.
I definitely don't dress like most girls I know. So I'm a rebel every day.
Nice. That's perfect. I love that.
I've always been like more tomboyish. Yeah. So like, I don't know, most days I like to look like I'm ready for like the military or something.
That's epic. I love that. Yeah.
Jazz is the same. Like he wears apocalyptic clothing every day, it seems. I was telling him, I'm like, you should start a clothing brand that's like just apocalypse wear.
It would pop off.
And there you go. So that's something to do with confidence in creating your own projects, because he just needs the confidence to be like, okay, we'll do it, and then jump into it. I feel like from ideation to execution, you need to lower that time frame.
And at least get the first step going. Because as soon as you step into it and you're like, all right, cool, we're in step one, it's just like, well, now we just keep going.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Because between step one and step two, which step one is just like one day you wake up and you're like, I really want to make a short film about a ghost.
And you research how to write a script,
And then let's just say like a week passes. You're still like, oh, you know, I'm still a bit passionate about it. I can do it, whatever. You know, it's a little sparkle still in your brain. But you like go out with your friends or you get distracted, you go to the beach, you know, and all of a sudden 3 weeks has gone by and you still haven't done anything. Whereas if we now switch the whole story and start from step one, which is when you got that idea, and that same day you started writing something, even if it was absolute crap, you're way more invested in this idea now, and you're way more likely to bring it to life. Same with the YouTube channel. Bloody register the name, minimum, you know? See if it's available. Because you might be like, ooh, this name is so cool. But then, like, you start thinking about it for 3 weeks because you're stuck on the name. You can change it later. Yeah. You know?
It's only the email you can't change. That's the bit you have to commit to. Yeah.
Just call it misc YouTube channel at gmail.com.
I just change the name every week. Yeah, totally. No, I love that. Yeah. No, I think it's so important to just start a project. Don't even have to tell anyone about it. Just be like, I'm just doing a thing for me, see where it goes. And I
actually think less people that you tell, the better.
Yeah, until it's finished. Yeah. And then you show them and then they go, oh, wow, that's really cool. Or like,
I feel like the biggest barriers are at the very, very start and when you're doing your first thing. So
Yes.
whether that is your first episode, your first film, your first music video, that's when it's like, ooh.
There's a lot of variables that could go wrong because you have no idea what you haven't got the experience to be like, yep, that's fine. That normally happens. I can just like forget about it.
Yeah.
It's just like everything is stimulating and you're just like over sensory. Like,
Yeah. Well, I saw a crazy statistic. I don't know if you've ever looked into this, but obviously because we're just getting into the podcasting business, I was looking at some statistics, and actually there are like 3 million podcasts or something. Yeah, it's insane.
It's over COVID. Yeah. They just went and just shot up.
But over 90% of them have never even gone past one episode.
Really?
So already you're cutting out freaking heaps of them. And then of
90%. Whoa.
And then of the 10% that are left, less than 1 or 2% of them have gone past 10 episodes.
Because I feel it's the same as YouTube channels. I'm sure that is a very similar statistic for YouTube. And I think it's a case of people getting a really good idea, having like a couple of concepts for videos or episodes that they could do, following through and finishing it, and then being like, well, where are the legs for the rest of the season?
I think I've actually seen some stats. This is what I do when I'm bored, I guess. But even like Mr. Beast and like some of the biggest YouTubers in the world, I mean, they've all started with getting like 20 views, 30 views for like maybe a year. And then all of a sudden, boom, like their stuff just goes bananas. And I think the success curve looks like this.
No, totally.
That's really what it looks like. You feel like there's almost no traction until all of a sudden you just can't handle it because it's gone way too big. And there's so many stories like that where for years you're like, am I doing this right? Or should I keep going? And honestly,
you're just beating at it week in and week out, being like, this is just passion. There's no income. There's no incentive to keep going. It's just you want to, and that's it's hard to keep pushing.
It's also like an investment in your future. Yeah. Because if making content and talking to people and making films is what you want to do, simply by staying in the game, you're way more likely to succeed.
Yeah. What do they call it? It's it's gonna be editing to get me out of this thought. It's a case of outrunning everyone, and just being in it for longer is how you win. Yeah. Is that concept of just, outpacing everyone. It's not a case of like trying to be successful overnight. It's just play the long game. Yeah. And everyone else will drop off behind you. Just keep going.
Yeah. It is a marathon. Yeah. I can totally feel it though. I mean, honestly, okay. So I started acting maybe like properly 5 years ago, and then kind of took a break, had to go get a real job. Thanks, Mom. And then really got that spark back probably over COVID. Yeah. I feel
like a lot of people did.
And I think that's in a way, hate that it happened, but also love that it happened because it definitely put my life in a different trajectory, which we'll talk about in our next episode together. Yeah. But I really, once I started getting creative again, it definitely felt very, very slow, and almost to the point where I was like, okay, maybe I'm not meant for this, because you start to think like, especially society these days, you definitely feel like success needs to happen like overnight,
And we're scrolling so fast, and it's,
You're like, oh, okay, if I put in 2 months, I'm going to be on the Hollywood carpet. You're kind of putting these expectations, but then you realize that actually it's a very slow game. And unless you love it, it's just, you're going to drop off the treadmill because it's just, even though the treadmill is moving so slow, you just like you just get distracted and you fall right off at the end.
The priority shifts. And a lot of people that do, because there's a lot of stories obviously out there that people do get the success overnight and they just explode. And then very soon they realize, I don't like editing. I don't like talking to people. I don't like the social part of this. Yeah. And it's this shift that they didn't realize they were getting themselves into. They just saw the fame and the money or whatever it is. And there's so much more that comes with that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. All right, Dom, tell me, where can people find your work? What have you got coming up next? And where can people find you?
Yeah, so people can find me on Instagram at Dominic Thwaite. I'm sure that people can try and spell that. And
it'll be in the show notes anyway.
Yeah. And the partnership one is at Dom and Will with an N in the middle, Dom and Will. And same thing on YouTube. And we are always creating something. We're trying to bring I was saying earlier, we're trying to bring other artists and creatives in. So we've got short films coming up. We've got mini films coming up. So between like 2 and 5 minutes. So
awesome.
We're just constantly creating.
Yeah, if you're an actor, crew, reach out, you know?
Yeah.
Don't be a stranger.
Yeah.
And give me some final words of wisdom for someone that is maybe on the edge, thinking about an idea, whether that's a film, a podcast, a YouTube channel. What should they do?
Find someone who aligns with you and run it by them and then create it with them.
I love it.
I think, yeah.
The power of collaboration.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dom, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
It was great. And we'll catch you guys in the next one.